Here we go. I don't know if we even need to go over this slide. I think people have pretty much gotten this. If you do need tech help, you can go chat directly to Astrid Leiden. Okay, so we are going to talk to you today about getting set up for computer-based testing. So computer-based testing 101, I will let each of the presenters introduce themselves. Marylynn.
Yep. Hi, I'm Marylynn Dvorak. I'm with Metro South. I'm the student accountability and data manager and all of a sudden online testing person.
Hi there, I'm Jessica Turner. I'm from Brainerd ABE. I'm the program coordinator here, and we've been using DRC online for just about 3 years.
Hey everyone, my name is Linda Keller. I work with Metro North Adult Basic Ed as the accountability coordinator and the testing trainer. We've been using DRC online with intake testing at our Blaine location for approximately a year.
And I'm Marty Olson, Southwest ABE, working with the Supplemental Services Grant for Assessment. And so my experience has been new. I'm the newbie on the team, and I'm going to just introduce you to some of the things that need to be done before you can accept your computer-based testing administrations. So I'm going to talk first about CASAS. CASAS is very specific about what people need to do. They've got a whole list. It's called the Going Live Checklist. And they insist that people follow this list and make sure that they do all the things on the list before they will even allow you to accept those online test administrations. So their number one is to confirm your system requirements, and there's links on all of these. We're not going to go to those links, but if you go to the Going Live checklist, you can check your system requirements clicking on those links. One of the things is if you are going to set up Chromebooks, which many districts have chosen to do, it's something that you should have your tech department work on. You can probably do it yourself too, but your tech department probably can do it a lot faster than you. That's a tip directly from Marylynn. So once you've checked your system requirements, you need to make sure that you do all of the modules and sign the agreements and do the certifications that are required. There's module 1 and 2, which is implementation basics, and then the e-test implementation. Those have to be done, completed. You can do them online. Module 2 you have to do online. Module 1, if you go to a face-to-face implementation training with a Minnesota State trainer, and if you've done it within the last 3 years, and they can find a record of that, that would count for that module number 1. You need to sign this implementation agreement. You need to make sure that you've got an e-test coordinator who's done the certification training, and a proctor who's done the certification training as well. All of those things can be found at this link. You see the online training link. All of those trainings can be found there. You do have to create an account. But once you do, if you scroll down a little bit, you can see those modules, module 1, module 2, and those things that I just mentioned. So all of those are found here on the CASAS training website. Next slide, please. So just as a little bit more in depth, the implementation agreement would require that you have assigned a main point of contact. Generally, your program director or administrator is that person who gets all of the contacts. And then the MPOC, as they call them, will identify a data manager. And the data manager has a lot of responsibility. So make sure it's somebody who is willing to take charge with this online testing. Then you need to have a coordinator and proctor, as I stated before. The data manager can be the same person as the coordinator or someone different. Basically, your data manager has to have an overview of all that's going on. A coordinator is going to be somebody who's going to have to be probably have access to each site. So if you've got more than one site, you may have to have additional coordinators as well as proctors. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. It's like, okay. So we have a poll just to help us know who's here. Has your program completed these steps? And do you know about it? So if we could launch that poll.
Just a moment. Can you see that?
Yep.
Great.
About half have voted.
I'll give people a few more seconds. We seem to be at a standstill. Shall I stop it?
Okay, that sounds fine. Okay, so we're about half and half on the yes and no. And the I don't knows, which we tend to find that people maybe haven't realized that this had to happen, or they didn't know, or they don't know that it has happened for their consortium. So as we move forward, my agency chose to receive some of the CASAS e-tests. This is where I'm involved with this e-testing. So if you did choose to do that, what's going to happen next? I know you've been waiting and waiting. We've been waiting to, we have to gather information and so forth. So your agency's contact information is being given to CASAS, and then they will check to make sure that you or your agency has completed all of the necessary trainings, completed the agreements, done the certifications. If any of those are missing or they don't have record of them, they'll let you know. And if, they'll let you know what it is you need to complete, and then you'll have to either complete it or show them that you have completed it. And then when all that's complete, they will set up your account and you'll get an email letting you know that that account has been set up and that those TEUs have been put into your account, and you'll be able to begin using your account. The data managers, so once you've got those TEUs, the data manager has to add users, possibly sites, teachers, classes. There's lots of options. We're not going to go through all of that specifically. Marylynn will show you a little bit more what you can do. But she will also show you about how to manage the user access and a little bit possibly about reporting outcomes. The coordinator, e-test coordinator, you see here a list, and I'm not going to go through all of these. You'll be able to have access to this, and you'll see it also on the going live checklist. So, but the e-test coordinator has lots of responsibilities. So make sure you choose somebody who's willing to follow through with all of those things. And finally, the e-test proctor on the next slide has these. Basically, they are the ones who start the test, are there during the test, and then after the test, they ensure that the student has exited the test. They stop the testing and log everything out. Next slide, please. This is a website that has the going live checklist and all of those links on it. So it's definitely a website that you will want to go back to again and again as you're setting up your account. And this just shows those links so you can read them a little bit better. You have to connect, add sites, add users, and so forth. Each of those links has a pictorial instruction sheet that looks something like this. So you can see there are pictures as well as words. Next slide, please. That was just a slide that, okay. So Marylynn
Okay,
is going to take over.
I'm just going to go through the bare bones of how you can go ahead and get started, because this is a website that is their, like their SID. So there's a lot of stuff on there that we won't use, and we probably never will use. So what you will get when you get your account is you will get a agency. You'll get the administrator account, the data management account, the and one site. So as the data manager, let's see, you will create the other people's logins. I was going to show you real quick here. Let me share. Okay.
Marylynn, do you want me to unshare so you can share?
Oh, do you see it now?
Okay. Yep.
Okay. So the first thing you'll do is you go to this etestonline.org. Well, I went to the simulator once so I could show you things. And you'll click this install TE client. And I think you can all do that yourself. I don't think you have to get your tech department involved at all. And you can install it on whatever computer you need, however many you need. I don't believe there's a limit. Oops, sorry. And once you have installed the TE client, you'll go to it. It'll put a little desktop icon and you just click on it, and you can go. This is what the login to the actual TOPS Pro will look like. So this is the simulator one again, so we can look at some stuff without actually showing data. And I've got a link to this the simulation server and to the instructions on how you log in. This is something new. This didn't used to be here. It's a start page. It's supposed to be shortcuts to things you may use all the time. I don't hardly ever use it because I wasn't used to it. But the first thing you'll do is you'll get one agency account.
Marylynn, can you reshare? I don't think we're seeing your screen.
I'm sorry. Okay, probably because I switched. Oh, it doesn't want to let me. Oh, here we go. I got it now. Okay, sorry. I'm bad at that. So you'll get an agency. Do I have to go back to the login?
We see that now.
So you'll get an agency assigned. You'll get one other site, and then you will have an administrator user and the data manager user is all you'll see. You'll add the other users that you want. I made all of our coordinators and proctors just have access to the entire school. In fact, I don't even have any subsites that we use. This will be the email, the school email. So you don't have to fill out everything. You have to do a user identification. The password is really whatever you want it to be. because they'll have to change it. This is where you choose what their role will be. Their proctor, if they did both of the trainings, you can pick the coordinator proctor. You have to add it, otherwise it won't stick. And then it asks you, do you know that this person has these certifications? So it makes you kind of accountable. You fill in their first name and their last name, and then you have to put their email again. Otherwise, it won't let you save. Let's see, where's the email? And then you save. So that doesn't look like it did anything, but as long as this user information shows up at the top, it's there. Okay, so let's see. So if you go back to users and you search for the first name, and yours won't have this many. This is just everybody. They reset this every night. So here's my one I just made. And then that's all you do. You just do that for every person that has completed the trainings. Once you have done that, your next step will be to set up testing sessions and register your computers. So you go back to the etestonline.org, the HTML5. I would register computers first. And if you're on a PC, you will get this execute. And you just click on that. Can you still see, do you see the station management where you do register station code or register station credentials?
Yes, we're still seeing it, Marylynn.
Okay, thanks. So you want to register with station credentials. Now this is where you'll put in your credentials. Oh gosh.
Marylynn, it looks like it's just frozen. Maybe it's not the right screen.
Oh, it doesn't see me. I'm not. Is it the station management where I have to sign in?
It's just a blank page.
Okay, let me see. This.
There we go. Now it's where we sign in.
Okay, so this is where you'll sign in to register your computers. And this is, okay, I guess I don't remember what I made. Shoot. Oh, now it says, okay, so this is the first time, so I have to change my password. Oh, sorry. But this is what you'll have to do, is change your password. Oh, yeah.
And so, you know, Marylynn, you're no longer sharing.
Okay, here we go. I'm trying. This is weird to do it with this because it takes up the whole thing. Sorry. All right, we'll go back to here. I don't forget. No. And why didn't it should have taken me to a change my password screen? I'm sorry. So you can see how much fun this is. All right. No. I'm so sorry. You have to go through all these steps though. All right, let me find it again. Here, I even practiced this too. I'm sorry, you guys. Oh. So anyway, you go through and you register your computers, and I'm going to try to get back to the, here I have it, bookmark.
Marylynn,
Yes.
your time's about up. So are there
Okay.
any final tips before we turn it
I guess
over
it's just
to?
that, yes, so you register users, you add all your users in TOPS Pro Enterprise, you do the station registrations and the session creation in the eTest Online.
And all that information is on those links that
Yep.
that you shared with us. That
Yep.
one page has links
Yeah,
to all of that information.
Yep, and all the instructions on what steps to take.
Yes.
So, because here, I'll just show you real quick, just this, accept the picture, here we go. This is where you sign in, and this is where the testing sessions are in this application. So this way, your proctors and your coordinators have access to do things in here that they wouldn't necessarily be able to do in Tufts Pro Enterprise. I'm sorry that I couldn't get it to work. I practiced.
Well, that's,
So it's like the thing didn't show up, but anyway.
of course. Okay. Well,
Okay.
thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Okay, but
Linda
anybody
and
can email
Jessica.
me. Yeah. Oh, here we go. You can unshare me. Oh. Uh-oh. Sorry. Okay, Jessica.
Are we good? Are you ready, Jessica?
Yeah. Sorry.
I'm ready, Linda. Do you
All
see
right,
the
let's
tape
do
online?
this.
We're good to go?
Yeah, so who can launch the poll for us? We've got a question to ask of the group. So if you could launch that poll.
You should be able to see that now.
There it is. With the online testing purchases that were made by MDE, there's been a lot of detective work being done behind the scenes to find out who had online accounts already created with either CASAS or TABE or both. And so we know that most programs already have TABE Online an account, but let's see, we've got 50% haven't
Yeah, we're
logged
pretty
in.
close. And just so you know, Linda, you're not sharing your slides if you want to get that up in the meantime, or whoever is
Okay.
going to be sharing.
I think that Jessica is, so that she
Yep,
can
there
use
we go.
the tool. Awesome. Thank you, Jessica.
All right. I'm not seeing any more come in. I'm going to go ahead and end that poll. You should be able to see those results.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Let me look here at my notes. Let's see which slide you got up, Jessica. If you want to move to the next slide where we've got the online checklist. We just need everyone to understand all the steps that need to be followed before you log in to the online account. And the first step that should have been taken is you need to find out if any of your technology supports TABE Online. There's a system requirements link here that you should follow to make sure that your site, your agency, your district, your consortia allows TABE Online to be delivered on your devices. The next thing that needs to happen is you need to have a point of contact for your agency who's going to get updates of information to the DRC portal. You just need to make sure that you have a point person, and if that point person leaves your program, then you need to designate another point person. You also need to make sure that anybody who plans to deliver TABE Online testing at your agency, that they need to have attended a state offered TABE or a TABE training sometime in the last 5 years as part of the ABE assessment policy. And then you need to have a central office server. This is something that both Jessica and I are going to elaborate on. With Metro North, our Anoka Hennepin IT department required us to select a central office server to deliver testing on the Chromebooks that were at our Blaine location, which is where we currently, or we did prior COVID, deliver online intake testing for math. Whenever a central office update occurs, your point of contact is going to get a notification from DRC, and then your central office server needs to be updated. So Jessica, can you share how that happened at Brainerd?
Right, for us, we're a smaller entity and we actually have it right on our Chromebooks as kind of an app that kind of overtakes the Chromebooks, and it's web-based, so it updates itself. Once in a while we'll have to do some Chrome updates or Google updates, but we do not have a central office server. It is all web-based.
Okay, thank you. And then number 6 on this bullet point, make friends with your IT department. If you're not already good friends with them, they're going to be your greatest support system getting this all up established at your agency. So buy them chocolate, make them cookies, whatever you need to do. And then the last step that needs to happen is every testing device that the online testing is going to get delivered on needs to be registered manually by IT. One-time shot, then it's done. So you don't ever have to do that again. All right, next slide, please. All right, I have hyperlinks in this slide for the online testing order form. The prices are effective through December 31st. Depending on how many online tests you have in your account. If you wanted to purchase more before the end of the year, because you'll get a discounted rate, you can. The next document that has a link here, this is the document that whenever anybody across Minnesota ABE has asked me about online testing, I give them that document. It's a great resource, 3-page document. It's got step-by-step instructions, screenshots. That's your go-to document for getting everything set up and started. Jessica, you want to add on that at all? Oh,
I
yeah.
agree. This is probably the only document that I probably use too. It's got everything that you need on this document and it's to the point. So yep, this is what I use for my staff as well.
And then the last bullet point on here, which is a hyperlink, if you could just immediately go to the next page, because what that hyperlink is a link to all kinds of videos that DRC has developed with how-to guides on everything from your quick start user guide, your managing your online users, your online student management for adding student records. Something that you need to consider is the DRC Insight. The testing platform is like a mini version of SID. You are going to have to add staff. You are going to have to add test sessions, and you will be adding learners to this session. So there's also some videos on report delivery and providing diagnostics and pulling those out. And then there's also a video for the central office server if it's designated that you need one at your program. So the next step would be figure out who your data staff is or whoever your point person is that's going to be setting up online testing. It might be one person, it might be multiple people, but they're the person or the individual or the staff who's going to be managing your online testing account. They're going to be adding the users, the sites, the teachers, the test sessions, student records, and so forth. And then they're going to be managing staff user access and site permissions. What I've found, just because we only had launched online testing for DRC at one site, I just gave every staff all the permissions so they could access everything. Jessica, anything you want to elaborate on that?
We did the same thing, and we didn't, even though we have 3 or 4 sites, we didn't make sites. We're just not big enough, and I wanted my teachers to be able to see everything. So my teachers do have access to everything, but as a manager level, I make sure that one person, being me, is the only one that makes those sessions, because if you don't have some organization to those sessions, which I think we'll talk about later, it's a mess to find your students in your testing.
All right, so then the next step to get into your Insight account, after you've logged in, you're going to follow all these steps. I'm not going to read them one by one because we're going to go through some visual screenshots so that you can see what you're going to see when you log in, so you know what to expect when you get there. But basically, this is from start to finish of the steps that you need to follow to get everything up and running. But you do need to be thinking about this as a program of who's going to be the point person for doing all of these things, and then set up some processes and some structure before you launch this, just so that it's sustainable going forward. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is your login screen. This is the site that it's found at. You can see my name in there, password, that's all you need to do in order to sign in, is click on that. When you get to this next screen, to me, it's not super intuitive of where you're supposed to go from here, but I'm 54 and I'm still learning technology just like the rest of you too. You do have to click on My Products. Thanks for the tool there, Jessica. Hover over that My Products, and then when you do that, it'll select you to go into the next screen, which is the intro screen. On the intro screen, you have all kinds of information. You have We call it a landing page, but it has recent announcements. It has your 800 number for the technical support for DRC. There's links in there for remote testing and updates that DRC has provided. There's a device check link that's also in this announcement page to determine whether or not you have devices that are going to work, and then that they pass all of those checks. And then there's an online tools training link in there as well that you can generate and send to students to have them become more familiar with how to take online tests. Not everyone is super savvy with using online tools and products and platforms and everything. And we want students to become familiar with how to take online tests. So it's just another option for them. Now you get into the goodie stuff where you can find all of the things that you're going to be using. Jessica's going to use her cool tool and show you the tabs that you're most recently going to go on. You're going to click on My Applications. And then when you do that, you get a drop-down menu and all these different options. And if you watch all the cool highlights that she's doing, you're going to know that those are the areas that you're going to be using frequently. The other items that are listed on there are not going to be as frequent. They might be one-time shot kind of things, including the central office server, which is about every 4 to 6 months update. But there's lots of different tools in there. The student management is where you're going to be adding students. The teacher management is where you're going to be adding staff. The test management area is where you're going to be setting up testing sessions. And the report delivery is where you're going to be pulling reports after a testing session has been completed to get results to provide to your instructors so they can guide their instruction. Next slide, please. Okay, so here's where you add staff. This is just a screenshot of how you do that. Next screen. Oh, actually, let's go back to that staff thing. You have to choose the user role that the staff is going to be in. You have to choose the school site that you want them assigned to. If you do, Jessica gave some good advice. She said she doesn't assign them to a building because she wanted them to access all. I may need to reconfigure Metro North's staff where they're assigned and where they're listed after we start launching it at other locations. So you always need to save before you leave that screen. The next slide is a screenshot of the student management. In that section, you need to, let's see, you need to pick the type of tests that they're going to be using, TABE. You need to pick the district, which is basically your agency name. And then if you have schools assigned, you do need to assign those in order for you to be able to add a student to generate. You have to have items in all of those filters. If you click on Find a Students when you're in this tab, it's going to populate a list of everybody that's generated of records that have already been created in your data system. When you add student records, the only items that are required if you add a student record is a last name, first name, date of birth. You have to add that they're an adult in the field that it asks for, and then you need to select a gender. Those are the only required fields that need to have data embedded in order to save a record in an account. Metro North has chosen to also add the badge ID back in that section because there's an area where it says student ID. If you choose to do that, you don't have to, it's not required. We've just found it helpful in case if we have students with similar names. Anything else you want to add to that slide, Jessica?
No, I'm doing well. You're doing good, Linda.
Okay, are we on time yet? We still have 10 minutes left. Okay, so then the next screenshot is adding a test session. Jessica, I'm going to let you share what you've learned, and then I'll share what I've learned after this. So, or actually, this side that we're on right now is accommodations. If you have students that require accommodations in TABE Online, here's a screen that you would assign specific accommodations. You have 1.25, 1.5, 2.0, and then you have text to speech and untimed test as well. So when you do that, you just have to make sure that every test going forward is going to be allowed the same accommodations. Okay, so your test session details screen. Yeah,
So test sessions, really what that means, it's the classes or what you're naming. It's your naming system for your classes or your, well, I call them sessions. So in Brainerd, when I first started, we named every class, we named everything. And what I've found in 3 years is we have so many, and you can see even on this example, there are 11 pages or more of sessions. So it gets to be really hard. And if I could start over, I would do maybe pre-testing and post-testing level A, pre-testing, post-testing level D, and then do my other fine tuning in there. So my caveat to this is when you name your sessions, really think about it because it is hard to find them. They don't ever go away. You can sort by dates, you can sort by sessions, but that's been my biggest struggle, is to be able to sort and find my sessions where my students are at. So make sure you really think about what you name your sessions before you name them.
And one of the things that we started with at Metro North, I've been around for 26 years, and I was thinking Lit Pro days, I was thinking MABE days, I was thinking SID days. We've used acronyms for the buildings that things are located in. We use specific classes that they're linked to so that they're easier to find. And then we've also put dates on the names of our classes as well.
Linda, did you want to talk about these icons as long as we were here?
Yes. So those icons that are in there, you got, if you hover your mouse over those, the first one's view edit, the second one's export details, the third one's copy session. You're going to probably use 4, 5, and 6, or 4 and 5 the most. The 4 button is the edit and print the ticket status, because when you create a test session and you enroll individuals into these test sessions, you're going to get test tickets, which is basically the username and a password that's assigned for each individual student for each testing session. They're all unique. They're going to need that in order to be able to log into a testing session. So those buttons will be your friend. Anything else you want to add to that, Jessica?
Nope, I think it's good. There's a picture of what the test ticket looks like that you were mentioning. They have a nice little ticket you can cut out for students and hand it. And then they have a master list where everybody can see, well, not everybody, but the teachers can see who's on your list for that session.
Yeah. And the screenshots that I put in there were just my testing session, my name. But normally if you have, multiple people, you'll just get a nice grid with lines. Just use your paper cutter and cut those out and hand those tickets out when we are able to test in person online again. So report delivery, there's lots of different reports when you click on that report tab in that my application session, but you're going to be wanting to look at the one that Jessica's circling on demand reports. That button is going to be able to provide you the diagnostic that is going to print off, that is going to show you the standards that the student has mastered and that they have yet to achieve, so that you can again provide instruction. So and I haven't used this one myself. Jessica, if you wanted to, have you used this one yet?
The on-demand extract is something I would use maybe for my data manager who's entering data. It pulls up, you can pull it by session or by year, and it pulls up every student, gives you their SID, or gives you the test number, gives them the scale score, and the dates. So your data manager could just have a nice big list without all the diagnostics and enter it all at one point. So this is where I would use that more so as for data pulled specifically for reporting.
Okay. And this is what the reports look like after you print them out, some just mini screenshots.
So this is back to that on-demand reports where we said that this would be the most used. This is where you get your diagnostics. This is what the teachers use. It's an individual profile, and this is what our program uses 99.9% of the time, because it gives us our scale score, what's right, what's wrong, and our proficiencies. And then in math, they do have a new diagnostic that's given more information. So let me just clear this screen and move on. We're running out of time here.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's go to your cool flow charts. I think I forgot to embed that other flow chart link.
Okay.
Too.
So this is just something that Brainerd uses. When we first started, to find the reports was kind of cumbersome. So I just made a quick little flow chart. This one, you're probably not going to use, but what you may not know is all locators are free. What I found though, is that it's hard to find the locator scores. So I actually had to call TABE and they told me, and this is the flow chart to find just the locator. So, I know it's a little bit sneaky, but sometimes we would do the locator online and then we would give the paper test so we could get more diagnostics. And then just how to find scale scores, our protocol for finding students or putting them in. Here's a little screenshot of that button that you're going to hit on the sessions. Just so you know, this right here, pre-assess math, that is one of my assessments or session names. You're not going to actually find that unless you copy it. But this kind of the nitty gritty and how to get in and get the main things that we use. I think
we've got 5 minutes left. So the next slides have to do with going into the online portal to, again, just to give students extra practice, but those are links to just go in and practice. And those are just screenshots of those. Jessica's and my name are on the end of this TABE section. We're free to answer any questions. So we've got 5 minutes left. Anything that you want to ask us, please do.
Thank you so much. People are welcome to use the chat box with their questions. And before you leave, if people have to leave right at the time, I want to be sure you have the link to the evaluation for the conference. I'm just putting that in the chat log now. So you're welcome to continue to ask questions of our presenters. Thank you so much to Linda, Jessica, and Marty, and Marylynn, and to our interpreters for making this session happen. And we're happy to keep entertaining questions. Don't forget to fill out your eval.
And something I want to share, like none of us are experts at any of this yet because it's all very new. Some of us are a little more seasoned than others. And thank you both Jessica and Marylynn for being willing to be part of this, to share, lessons learned. We all appreciate that. I think it would be a great idea if we could start being part of a Schoology group for lessons learned during online testing, as we are all launching this and learning together. So if anybody wants to consider that, I don't know how to get started with a Schoology group without any of you.
Any other questions people want to add before we close?
Metro North actually does have a CASAS e-testing account established already, but we didn't get up and running before COVID started, and we're not doing any in-person testing yet, with the exception of at our Elk River location, and our St. Francis location has done some in-person CASAS testing, but that's, or in-person testing, but those are our only sites right now, so.
All right, well, I invite you to go ahead and stop sharing, and maybe the presenters would like to turn on their cameras to say goodbye. I'm going to stop the recording, and if people have other questions they'd like to entertain, feel free.
I was going to say, this is what I miss about in-person panel sessions.